Just confirm so that I can start. Okay. Is it clear now? Okay, perfect. So let's start. Today, completed dividend also yesterday. So what we will do is today we will start with management and administration, then we'll finish incorporation, then we'll do accounts, audit, and companies outside India. Okay, so that's how we'll go about it. So first, let's start with management, or if you want, we can just finish incorporation. It won't take a lot of time, so we'll just brush up, not do like a very detailed revision, because I think that's something you all are well aware of. So, Companies Act, it is applicable to the whole of India. It is not applicable to specific companies. Sorry, not specific companies, to companies to which specific acts are applicable. So, your banking companies, insurance companies, electricity supply companies, and any other specific act company which the central government may notify. So, to these companies, it is not applicable. Other than that, it is applicable to all the companies. It is applicable to these companies, but it is applicable to a very limited extent. So it will be applicable only when the specific act is not providing something. So it is not that it is completely not applicable, but it will be applicable only uh, when the insurance act is not saying something. Otherwise, the company provisions as it is will be applicable there. Now, coming to the features, we know what the features are: separate legal entity, perpetual succession, and it has to be for lawful purpose, even though the word may has been used. And the other features which we studied yesterday also for LLP, the same can be applied here. Important here is the definition of promoter. So promoter is 269, your prospectus was 270. So आगे पीछे वैसा याद रख सकते हैं. So in case of promoter, promoter has been defined as any person who conceives the idea of promoting and initiates promotion. So basically, the person who gets the idea of promoting the company to start the company is basically who the promoter is. This is as per your definition. But we have judicial pronouncement which says that even if he is a person who does not have an idea of the company, he's still a promoter, because in this case, if he has done something to drastically change the working of the company. So if I am a kirana shop and I'm doing something offline and I'm earning X rupees as revenue, and now because of a app that I've developed and tie up with not Zomato, Zepto and all of that, Swiggy, my working has changed. So that person who is changing that particular thing for my company will also be a promoter. So promoter is not just restricted to the person who is there at the time of initiation of the company. It is all, he is also the person who has brought about some changes. So when definition for promoter is asked, which is actually asked for one of the examinations, so when definition for promoter is asked, what you will do is not just write the definition, but you will also write the judicial pronouncement, which is why it is mentioned here. Now, companies, different type of companies. We have OPC, Section 8 company, private company, small company, public company, one-person company. So all of these companies have different features. Your OPC, small company, all of these are a part of your private company. Then by shares and by, I think there's some issue. Not I've enabled the waiting room today, unfortunately. Okay. So, yeah. So basis my liability, I have limited by shares, limited by guarantee, and unlimited company. Limited by shares is when I am subscribing to the share capital of the company. Many a times in Companies Act, we read that where share capital is there, where share capital is not there, we take voting power. So for guarantee companies, voting power is there. Otherwise, you have the share capital you will consider, correct? So here, when I'm talking about limited by shares, how much amount is not paid is basically my liability. Unpaid amount on shares is my liability, so it's restricted to that amount. In case of guarantee, it is restricted to the guarantee amount that I give. Now, between limited by shares and limited by guarantee I've said that whenever required, when the company goes in winding up, I will give 20,000 rupees. So I have given a guarantee of that particular amount, and now I will be called forward to pay that amount only at the time of winding up. In case of limited by shares, I can be called forward to pay that amount at any point of time. So in case of limited by guarantee, it will be at the time of winding up. Limited by shares, it will be at any point of time. And then there are unlimited companies where the members have unlimited liabilities. One person company is basically a company which will have one person as member. He has to be a person who is a citizen of India, resident in India for 120 days or not, and he will also have a nominee. So in case something happens to him, there is a nominee. For others, we don't have that nominee concept because private company of 2 people, public company of 7 people. So there are already people who are going to be helping you out, correct? So in one person company, you have one member and one nominee. Both of them may or may not be resident in India, have to be a citizen of India. It is basically to allow ease of doing business, which is why you have that person. That is why you have the concept of a one person company. So if a single individual wants to start a company and not a proprietor, have limited liability, be governed by MCA, then a one person company is best suited for them. The name of the nominee is mentioned in the memorandum of association, and every time there is a change in nominee, that has to be updated in the memorandum of association. Even though I am changing my memorandum of association, it will not amount to alteration of MOA. So that is why special resolution and things that we have learned is not applicable here when I am changing the nominee. Now, nominee may at any time withdraw the consent, in which case new nominee has to be appointed within a period of 15 days in INC 4, and then I have to intimate ROC within a period of 30 days. So this is my one person company. Private company minimum 2, maximum 200, and public company minimum 7, maximum unlimited. This we know. Now if I have to form a company, what are the requirements? What we have done in LLP, the same concept will be applicable here. So what are the requirements that I have? One is that I will have to have a name reservation, correct? So once I reserve the name for the company, that name will be available to me for a period of 20 days. Now when I am reserving the name of the company, I have to ensure that the name is not resembling any other trademark or any other company. I'm not using any words where there is specific approval required. So all of that I will take into consideration, and then I will reserve my name, and it should not resemble any other LLP as well. And once the name has been reserved, then that name I will have to, after reservation of name, I will have to file within 20 days all the documents. Here the list of compliances is much more as compared to your LLP. So in LLP you have to file LLP agreement and details of the designated partners. Here you will have to have promoters, you will have to have appoint directors, you will have to appoint first directors, you will have MOA, AOA. Then they will give a letter saying that they have not been convicted of any offense, or if they are already holding a din, then they will have a letter for that. So the compliances which are here are additional as compared to your LLP form of organization. Once I submit these documents, then I will get a certificate of incorporation which will have my CIN, and that CIN is something that I will use everywhere. Along with CIN, I also get income tax, I also get income tax PAN, I also get GST number if I feel my turnover is going to exceed 20 lakhs. So all of that I will get in my certificate of incorporation. From the date of incorporation, I will act as a company. I'll be responsible for all compliances under the Companies Act, and I will be responsible for all the compliances under the Companies Act. And the effects of registration, what we studied there, can have common seal, can buy, transfer, sell, own property. So all those provisions that we studied there will also be applicable here. So it is very, very similar. The process is very, very similar, with of course a bit more compliance because it is a company, and company has a little higher compliances, correct? So here when I get my CIN, I want to show you something. Yes, CIN will be in this particular format, and this particular format is always giving out details about the company itself. So when I'm using PLC, when I'm using L, so showing the listing status, the state, the year. So these are the things which can be asked for MCQ question, which is why I've listed it down here. The compliances per se, I have not mentioned all the compliances here, but these compliances we have in our textbook. It's also there in the module. So if you are seeing it from the textbook, you can read it from there once. I haven't put it here because they are not really asked, but if you have a broad idea of it, you can write it in your own words and it will be absolutely okay. Now, so that is about your CIN. Now, before I go forward, one more thing I would like to tell you is about your memorandum and articles of association, correct? So memorandum and articles of association, we have seen how the memorandum of association looks in class. It is basically something that brings out the object, the reason, the purpose why I am going to be incorporated as a company and what are the things that I am going to do. Things that are there in my memorandum are the things that I can do. Things which are not there in my memorandum, not mentioned in my object clause, is something I cannot do. If it is not there in my object clause and I do that particular thing, then in that case it will be said that it is ultra vires the company. So doctrine of ultra vires will be applicable, and which makes the agreements that I am entering into void. So I cannot take action against third party cannot take action against me. So that is why if I have to do something which is not there in my memorandum, so if I am into the business of education and tomorrow I want to start something in fashion, which is of course not there in my memorandum, then in that case what I will do is that I will have to alter my memorandum of association. Till the time I cannot do it. Apart from that, we had seen the agreement. If you broadly remember, then it starts with the name, then it will have the state where it's going to be incorporated. It will not have the full address because address we give at a later point of time, and it will have my objects: name clause, domicile, object clause, liability, whether I'm limited by shares, limited by guarantee, unlimited. My capital clause, how the capital will look: 1 lakh authorized capital, 5 lakh authorized capital, issued, paid up kitna hai, that I will mention. And then subscription clause at the end, if you remember, the name of the promoters or the first directors, whoever. So the promoters who want to take up the shares in the company, how many shares they are taking and how much amount they are committing that they will pay once the company has been incorporated, and the signature of the witness. So these are the things which will form part of my memorandum of association. It is considered to be a public document. Every person who's dealing with the company is and should be aware of the details which are mentioned in the memorandum of association. So tomorrow they cannot come and say that I was not aware of what's mentioned. That comes from your doctrine of constructive notice. Then coming to your articles of association, memorandum is dealing with your objects as to what are the things that should form part of your, the company. What are the things that the company will be doing? In articles of association, I will see how the company is going to be managed. So my internal day-to-day functioning, how will it happen, is something that I will mention in my articles of association. So here we don't have to study about what are the clauses available, but we will have clauses like if I have charge on assets, if there is any lien on shares, how will the shares be issued, how will the physical share certificates be issued, how will the dividend be paid, can I pay interim dividend or not, can I have shares with differential voting rights or not, correct? So all these things which are required for the running of the company, how many meetings I will have, board meetings, general meetings, how will the meetings function, everything that's required for the internal functioning of the company once the company has been incorporated will form part of my articles of association. So articles of association will have about my day-to-day functioning. Now when I have my articles of association, I can also have a clause which is called as the entrenchment clause. This is very, very important because though this was there last year, this is something that can be asked here, correct? So memorandum, doctrine of constructive notice, ये सब पूछ लिया foundation में if they wanted to ask, correct? So here, what will happen is that in entrenchment, so we have our ordinary resolution, we have a special resolution where 50% से ज़्यादा अग्री करते हैं ऑर्डिनरी रेजोल्यूशन, 75% से ज़्यादा अग्री चाहिए तो इट इज़ अ स्पेशल रेजोल्यूशन. सो आई हैव माई limit specified. In entrenchment, I will have a clause which will say that to do this particular thing, I need to have some percentage which is more than my special resolution. Correct? There's an example here where I want to remove the person who is the formation of the company, who is involved in the formation of the company, and if you want to remove him, then you need to have 95% approval. So 95% is more than special resolution. So entrenchment is stricter than the special resolution. So when I have such a clause in my articles of association, it is called as an entrenchment clause. अगर स्टीव जॉब्स ने ये लिया होता तो एप्पल उसको इतना इजीली निकाल नहीं पाता. करेक्ट? So entrenchment clause, if I want to have, I can have at the time of formation, or if I have not had it at the time of formation, then so for the company which I was working in, they didn't have it at the time of formation, but later on, when the company got incorporated, when they got investors, then they thought, okay, now we need to have entrenchment, so I can have it later also. If I have it at formation, no problem at all, but if I am having it later, then in that case, private company, all members have to approve. Public company, 75% members have to agree that SI entrenchment clause we can have in our articles of association. Apart from that, यहाँ पे doctrine of indoor management है, which means that even though it's a public document, even though there's a doctrine of constructive notice, there is a possibility that whatever internal functioning is required is not done by the company. So outsiders who are dealing with the company did not have knowledge of the internal problems of the company, and that they can assume that everything that's required to be done has been done. When will this doctrine not be applicable? It's also known as the token rule because it was announced in the token case. When will this be not applicable? It will not be applicable when you have suspicion of irregularity, or you have knowledge of irregularity, or in case of forgery we discussed yesterday also that forgery is something which does not validate anything. So if there is forgery, then you don't get any protection under any act. Okay, now act will override the memorandum and articles of association. So nothing that is being mentioned in the act can be overruled by the memorandum and articles of association. If you mention something that the act says, say for example 21 clear days notice is required, but you in your memorandum mentioned that 3 clear days notice is required, then your memorandum is not applicable. The act will apply and 21 days notice has to be sent irrespective of what you mentioned there. Now, just a second. Yeah. So that is your memorandum and articles of association. Since we are doing it, we will also see if I have to alter the memorandum articles of association, I will need a special resolution. If I am changing my name, then approval of registrar is required. And whatever changes in the name I do, that I will have to ensure that on my letterhead and my office where I'm going to put the name, I have to put the old name also for 2 years, and I have to mention the new name also, so that will continue as it is. This is okay. Change in objects. If I have raised money from the public at large, then I have to take their approval. If there are any dissenting shareholders, I will have to pay them. Any alteration, I have to notify registrar within 30 days. So that one in common line you can write and come. Main is this, yes, change in the registered office. Like I've told you in class, this chart is very, very important. If you remember this chart, then it is something that you will be able to answer in the question. A practical case study question is possible for this particular concept. So here if I am going within the city, so I am going from Andheri to Bandra, board resolution is required, notice to ROC within 30 days. Within the city itna issue nahi hota hai. Now within the city, from one state to another, from one ROC to another, just a second, I will be back in a minute. Sorry. So yes. So here within the state when I am doing, then there are two things. One is within the state from one ROC to another. So we have taken the example from Mumbai to Pune, and here we take say from example Mumbai to Nashik, and then you have from Mumbai to Delhi. Correct. So here what I will do is that if I'm shifting from one city to another within the same state, then in that case I will need a special resolution and I will have to inform the ROC within 30 days. Again, nothing very complicated. Issue is when, not issue, but a little different is when I'm shifting ROC or I'm shifting my state. So here I will need special resolution and here I will need a regional director. So my region, Mumbai region, जो director है regional director, he will give the approval. And in case of center, because it's a matter of center, when I'm changing the state, it will be the central government. Here then I will have to inform the regional director within 30 days. He will get back to me within 60 days and then I will inform the ROC within 30 days. Here I will inform CG within 60 days and he will get back to me within a period of 30 days. So this is very, very important, and these two people here are different. Baki, all of this is special resolution. Always remember, when you are within the city, then a board resolution, otherwise you need a special resolution. Here you will get a fresh certificate of incorporation. Articles of association, again you need a special resolution, and it is something where you will need copy to be filed with the registrar within 50 days. Now if I'm a public company, okay, then when I want to change my objects of memorandum or I want to change my articles of association, then always remember voting that we do, which we'll study in the next chapter. There I need to take approval by postal ballot. If it is a public company, not for a private company, provided private company has complied with your annual return and financial statement, so that exemption is available. So there I will have to do voting by postal ballot for doing these two things for public company. Otherwise I can do normal special resolution, no problem, but voting वहाँ पे postal ballot लगेगा, वो एक याद रखना. Now once I have formed the company, once I have got the certificate of incorporation, in my memorandum I have only mentioned the state. I have not mentioned the full address. So now I have to give them the full address, saying, okay, this is my full address. So when I'm giving the full address to the registrar, at that point of time, I will have to give it within a period of 30 days from the date of incorporation. This registered office address is very, very important, like we had studied for LLP, because every notice, every communication that the government wants to send, or any of my clients, creditors, debtors, anyone who wants to send a communication to me, they can send it to me on my letterhead, so on my registered office. And hence it is important to mention it on my letterhead, to mention it outside my office. On all communications that the company is sending, you will always see the registered office address. Even on visiting cards you will see the registered office address, correct? So within 30 days I have to send the registered office address, and any changes I do, that changes also has to be by passing special resolution and by intimating ROC within a period of 30 days. Now, I said that once I have got my certificate of incorporation, I am a company and I can start working. But for commencement of business, section 10A is something which is very important. It says that if you want to start your business, before starting the business, in your subscription clause of your memorandum of association, the promoters have mentioned that these are the shares that they are going to take and this is the amount that they are going to pay. So before you start taking money from the public at large or from your clients or whatever, before you do that, before you do any business transactions in your bank account, first thing you have to do is take the money from the promoters that they have promised. So commencement of business, I have to take the share capital amount within a period of 180 days or whichever. Like if I'm starting taking money from tomorrow itself, then today as a promoter, I will have to put that 50,000, 1 lakh, whatever I've agreed, I'll have to pay that to the company. So commencement of business ke liye two important things. One is the promoters has to pay within 180 days. Second is the registered office address has to be given to ROC within a period of 30 days. So these two things are important. Any change in the name of the company after formation, agar change in name of the company hota hai, then in that case I will have to if the central government thinks, or if someone complains, trademark hai to 3 years mein complain karna hai. So if anyone complains, then I will have to change my name in 3 months time and I will have to inform ROC within 15 days. Okay, so so that is about your incorporation process overall. Anything, any false, incorrect information that I give or suppress any information that has been given, then in that case I will be liable under 447, which we have studied yesterday also. Less than 10 lakhs hai, more than 10 lakhs hai, public interest involved hai, minimum amount fraud, maximum amount fraud, minimum 6 months, maximum 10 years. Agar public interest hai, minimum 3 years, maximum 10 years. And if it is less than 10 lakhs, so either a penalty or a fine. Either a penalty or imprisonment. Otherwise, both will be applicable, correct? So this we have studied yesterday. Now, apart from 447, tribunal may also order name removal, winding up, make your liability unlimited, change your memorandum or articles of association, or pass such other orders as it may deem fit. Now, 1% company we have done. Coming to section 8 company. Section 8 companies are what? Are companies which are involved in charitable purposes. So they have the business of promoting commerce, art, science, culture, all of those things. And hence, just a second. So it is promoting art, science, culture, whatever. So they want to promote particular objects, which is why section 8 company has been formed. Yesterday when we studied dividend, I told you that this is one of the companies. There are two companies, defaulting companies, who cannot pay dividend. One is your section 8 company and second is your company if they have failed to repay deposits or failed in making payment of dividend which was earlier issued. Then in that case you cannot have you cannot pay dividend. So Section 8 companies can never ever pay dividend, even if they wind up the business. There is a question that was there, which was asked previously, saying that they're winding up, and after winding up, they are now. A second. Yeah. After winding up, they are now. What was I saying? Yeah. They're winding up, and now after winding up, they're sharing the proceeds of whatever money they have earned from Section 8 company. Can they do so? They cannot do so. If they're sharing the proceeds at the time of winding up, it is like a dividend only, because you're giving out the money. So you can't do that. You have to give it to any other company which is into similar business, or deposit in a fund. But you cannot give out the money from a Section 8 company. Whatever you earn in a Section 8 company will always remain with the Section 8 company, or will go to CG, or will go to any other company which is in a Section 8 business, correct? So that is about Section 8 company. Now here I have to take the approval of central government, because I'm telling people that I'm doing some nice work, and for which I'm getting approvals, and for which I'm getting money. So central government will say that I will give you the approval, and when central government is giving you the approval, he will list down restrictions saying these are the things you can do, these are the things you cannot do, and I have to adhere to those restrictions. If he tells me that there are any additional compliances that I have to make, then those compliances also I will have to make. So if I do something, if I don't do something that the central government has told me, then in that case my license will be revoked, correct? So here central government can revoke my license. Again, this chart is something that I would say is very, very important. One point here is Section 8 companies has exemption from certain rules and regulations. Important one for you is the AGM ka 14 days clear notice instead of 21 days clear notice. Now, if there is a contravention, one is that he will punish me that you didn't do this thing, which is fine, not a big thing. Amount is big, but okay. But here, if my license gets revoked, then he has three options, three things he can do. One is he can convert me into a limited or a private limited company. Another, he will ask me to amalgamate with a similar company. So if I'm into education NGO, I will be amalgamated with the education NGO. And the third is that there is winding up of the company, and the surplus will be transferred to similar company or insolvency and bankruptcy fund. So the question that I was just mentioning was on this particular concept. So even on winding up, whether government is winding up or I myself am winding up, money that is there will always go to similar company or to insolvency and bankruptcy fund. Okay, this is clear. So this is about your Section 8 company. Effects of registration we know. Convert into any other kind of company. If I have to convert Section 8 company into any other kind of company, I need to have a special resolution. Explanatory statement lagega, because it is not some ordinary business. It's a special business that we are doing. I will have to apply to the regional director and the registrar, and they will say, okay, wait, I will check whether you can do the conversion or not, but I will also send notices to people who are involved and who may have objection, correct? Yesterday also when we did where he's sending out notices, correct? Even for accounts of companies, they will send out notices when I want to change something, correct? So here he will send notice. I will have to also publish in newspaper so that everyone who's dealing with me is aware of it. And financial statement, annual returns have to be filed. And after this, regional director will get given approval. Once regional director gives an approval, I will again pass a special resolution. I will change my company. I will go to the registrar. I will inform him that I've changed my company, and then he will issue a fresh certificate of incorporation where he will tell me I'm no longer a Section 8 company. So this is for the conversion of a Section 8 company into any other kind of company. Else have we left here? This we are done. Okay, two important things which we have here, and then the end of the chapter. One is Section 19, very, very important, because it was not there last year, it's there this year. Subsidiary company cannot hold shares in the holding company. So they cannot hold shares in the holding company, and holding company is holding shares in the subsidiary. Subsidiary again cannot hold shares in the holding company, otherwise it will amount to buyback of shares. So which is why you cannot do. There are three exceptions, and these three exceptions are very, very important to remember. One is if I am a legal representative, I am holding the shares as a legal representative or as a trustee on behalf of someone else for the benefit of someone else. If I am holding the shares, then I can hold. Or if I was already holding even before I became the subsidiary, the example for which I have given here. So if I am holding before I became the subsidiary, I can continue to hold what I am holding. I can reduce my stake, but I cannot increase my stake. Correct? So trustee, legal representative, and I'm holding before I became the subsidiary, then I can continue to hold. So very, very important are the exceptions here. And last is service of documents. The same we have done also in your General Clauses Act, where it has to be sent, can be sent by registered post, speed post, courier. It has to be properly addressed, properly stamped and sent. And it shall be deemed that whenever ordinary post ka jo bhi time mein it should have been delivered, it is delivered unless you prove otherwise. That will same thing will apply here. There we had also done registered post acknowledgement due से भेजना है, तो registered post acknowledgement due ही होना चाहिए, registered post से नहीं भेज सकते हैं. If I give a letter to landlord but tenant rejects it, then it is assumed that I have given it to the landlord. Correct? Here what is important is that if I am sending anything other than the notice of meeting, then in that case delivered in the ordinary course of business. But if I am sending notice of a meeting, it is assumed that it is delivered on the expiration of 48 hours. This is very, very, very important, because when questions are asked, now we'll go to management and administration. When questions are asked about 21 clear days notice, whether 21 days has happened or not happened, if I am sending by post, I have to first remove 2 days because 48 hours hoega. Then from after that, from the third day onwards, I will calculate my 21 days. Correct? In that calculation, again, what I will do is I will go to General Clauses Act and I will see first exclude, last include. वो भी करना है. समझ में आ रहा है? So this point is extremely important. मम्मी रात को नींद से उठा के पूछेगी तो भी तुमको बताना चाहिए. Notice of the meeting, it is deemed to be served on expiry of 48 hours. Okay, so this is something which is very, very important. Now if you have the notes printed, you can just mark it, or you can of course mark it in your book. Authentication of documents, जो भी मेरे KMP है, KMP का definition है CEO, CFO, company secretary, whole time director, they can sign it. Bills of exchange, if I have common seal, then I will put the common seal. If I don't have the common seal, then in that case 2 directors will sign. If I have a CS, then 1 director, 1 CS will sign. Okay, so this is about your incorporation. Quickly going to management and administration. Where is it? Yes. Now for management and administration, we will not go in the order in which I have the book. So we will go in the order of importance. So here, meetings. First is your meetings. We have different kinds of meetings. We have general meetings, we have board meetings, we have class meetings. In general meetings, you have annual general meeting and your extraordinary general meeting. Annual general meeting, as the name suggests, happens annually, once in a year, and hence just 1 second, someone has messaged, if you are sending notice, we have to exclude 2 days and count 21 days. Yes, you have to exclude. No, you have to see how it is sent. If it is sent by post, then you have to exclude that 2 days. Okay, hand delivery kiya hai, to you don't have to exclude 2 days, then 21 days immediately hoga. Yes. Now टाइप्स ऑफ मीटिंग में हमारे पास होता है जनरल मीटिंग, बोर्ड मीटिंग एंड योर क्लास मीटिंग्स. क्लास मीटिंग्स इज फॉर स्पेसिफिक क्लास ऑफ इंडिविजुअल्स. तो अगर क्रेडिटर्स को मिलना है, डिबेंचर होल्डर्स को मिलना है. यस्टरडे वी सॉ दैट डिबेंचर ट्रस्टी कैन कॉल फॉर द मीटिंग, डिपॉजिट ट्रस्टी कैन कॉल. सो दीज आर ऑल क्लास मीटिंग्स दैट वी हैव. General meetings we have is your annual general meeting and your extraordinary general meeting. Annual general meeting happens once every year. Extraordinary general meeting is when I want to meet my shareholders, but I don't want to wait till the end of the year. Then in that case, I will call the EGM. EGM I can call as a company also, or the shareholders can call, or they can request requisitionist wala clause, where EGM by requisitionist, they will request the company to call for the meeting. That is also possible. Board meetings is meeting of the board of directors. They have to mandatorily meet 4 times in a year. They can meet more, not less. Okay. So now, when I talk about AGM, then if it's a first AGM, then it has to be held within 9 months from the end of the financial year. Within 9 months from the end of the financial year. Now, here, before we go forward, one clarification is that financial year is, we all know, all very smart people we have here, is from, okay, I'll just do it here so that it's easier. I'm interlinking everything, not to confuse you, but to give you some clarity, because we know everything. Okay. So, financial year जो है is my 1st April say 25 to 31st March 26. So, when I am having my first AGM, then if I am incorporated today, that is 17th April 2025, my first AGM will happen on 31st of December 2026. Correct? 9 months from the end of the financial year. Now, say for example, I am incorporated on 17th of Jan 2026. If this is asked in the examination, and this will be asked as an MCQ question, okay, this is not going to be like a full-fledged case study unless it's like a 2-3 mark case study. So if I am incorporated on 17th of Jan, because I am incorporated after 1st Jan, my financial year ends on 2027. So my first AGM will happen on Are we understanding? So here your financial year definition plus your AGM concept is being tested. For income tax, your year will always end on 31st March 2026, whether you are on 17th April or whether you are incorporated on 17th April or on 17th of Jan, doesn't matter for income tax. But for Companies Act, it will change. Are we understanding? Similar concept will also apply for LLP. LLP में कौन सा डेट है? 30th September है. So वहाँ पे भी the compliance statement of accounts and solvency 6 months from end of financial year. Annual return 60 days from the end of financial year. That will also change accordingly. Are we understanding this? So please keep this in mind. ऐसे क्वेश्चन देख के 9 months है, फटाक से करने का, ऐसा नहीं करना है. Please ensure you read the question properly. Okay. Here you will not get any extension, and the AGM concept is not applicable to OPC, so they can have it anytime they want to meet the shareholders. They can meet. Now, if I am having subsequent AGM, then in that case I will have AGM within 6 months from the end of financial year, and the time gap between the two AGMs will not exceed 15 months. So 6 months from end of financial year, time gap between two will not exceed 15 months, and here 3 months extension is possible. यहाँ पे क्या है? Already 3 months they have given it to me, so it will not increase further. Here they have given 6 months, so they are giving me that additional 3 months. I have to go to ROC, I have to tell him why I have not held the AGM, and then if there are reasonable cause, then he will allow me that 3 months extension. Otherwise, he will not allow. If I don't hold the AGM, then in that case I cannot. If I don't hold the AGM, then in that case the tribunal can hold the AGM for me, for the shareholders, and he will order, and I will have to keep the AGM. Right? Now, every listed company, अगर listed company है, then they will have to prepare a report of the AGM, and they will have to submit it in MGT 15 within 30 days. It will be signed by chairman or the 2 directors, one of whom shall be MD and CS, and failure to comply will lead to penalty. Are we understanding AGM? So AGM में क्या पढ़ा अपन ने? AGM happens once in every year. Now, if it's first AGM, 9 months from end of financial year, extension not possible. If it is subsequent AGM, 6 months from end of financial year, 3 months का extension possible है. Time gap between two will not exceed 15 months. If I don't hold AGM, tribunal can hold and call for an AGM on my behalf. And AGM is very, very important because everything is linked to the AGM, like the annual return that we will study now. If I'm a listed public company, then in that case, I will have to make a report of the AGM in MGT 15 and I have to submit the same with ROC. Non-compliance will lead to failure. Now, EGM. EGM I will call when I don't want to wait for AGM. Correct? So if I'm issuing a prospectus, I can't wait, 30th September, I will raise money. No, I want it today. So what I will do is that I will have the EGM where I will call for the shareholders and I will tell them this is extraordinary general meeting that I'm holding. Now when I'm calling for EGM as company, I can call for EGM, no problem at all. But sometimes what will happen is that the members will say that we want to meet and the members will request for calling a EGM. If they are requesting, then it is called as EGM by requisitionist. Here, if they are calling, then how many members can call? Holding 1/10 of the capital or voting power depending on what kind of company it is. Once they send me a notice, and within 21 days I have to call, not later than 45 days. And this meeting, if I don't call within 21 days, then on the 21st day, I will have to give all the shareholder data to the requisitionist and the requisitionist will call for the meeting. Whatever expenses they incur, the company will have to reimburse the expenses. Yeah. So you are bound to give the notice on the 21st day. It has to be, notice has to specify if it's a EGM, it has to be on business hours, working day. ये सब जो common points है वो तुम लोग लिख देना. Default है report to be submitted, it's already mentioned. Correct? So this is about your meeting. This is very, very clear, very, very important. Now coming to annual return. In annual return, one point I want to clarify. In the textbook, we had one point about indebtedness that was there, which has now been removed. So you can cancel it from your book. So in indebtedness, that point is no longer required to be given in the annual return. They have changed the form. Now, if annual return is to be submitted, annual return is basically a return that I give at the end of the year, which will give all the information about my, the company for the financial year. So it will always be a comparison of what it was last year, what it is in the current year, and how things have changed. So it is easier for them also to analyze the data. So in annual return, what are the 10 things? Now nine things that we need to mention. Here we have the registered office address, where is the principal place of business, the shareholding pattern, how the shareholding pattern has changed, members and debenture holders, how the members and debenture holders have changed. Then I will also have a clause on your directors, key managerial personnel, how they have changed, how much remuneration I am paying, how has the remuneration changed. Then I will also have in my board's report, if you remember, I am just again interlinking. In my board's report, I will also mention, along which goes with the annual return, I will also mention how is the appraisal done for board of directors. Okay, so this is one point which we mentioned there. Now coming to the next point, meeting of board members along with attendees, penalty, punishment क्या क्या है, certification, compliance, disclosure, FI का shares, where they are based, how many shares they are holding, what is the amount that they have paid, and such other matters as may be prescribed. So these are the 9 things. Indebtedness जो है वो वहाँ से निकल गया. So these are the 9 things that I will be mentioning in my annual return. Annual return is a very, very important form because everywhere we see that exemption जो है वो मिलेगा, and that exemption will be taken away if the financial statement and annual returns are not filed. So it's a very, very important form and every company is required to submit this form. When do I have to submit this form? Then it has to be submitted within 60 days from the date of AGM. And hence my AGM date is very, very important. So I will see 60 days from the date of AGM क्या होता है, and then accordingly I will calculate. मैंने आ देना स्टूल देना. 60 days from the date of AGM I have to file my annual return, and this annual return, if I'm not having an AGM, then it has to be filed within 60 days from the date AGM should have been held. Very, very important concept. Very like all the students would know this, but very frequently asked. Okay. Then you have a form in which I have to give. So here the form that I have to, for AGM it is MGT 15, and for annual return it is MGT 7. If I'm a OPC, then I don't have to give a very detailed MGT 7. I have to give a abridged, short salient features wala, correct? So abridged annual return in MGT 7A. This has to be signed by director CS and CS in practice. If I have a CS in practice, who are the people who need to have a CS in practice? Listed companies having paid up capital more than 10 crores and turnover more than 50 crores. And this annual return has to be attached to the board's report and placed on the website, which is why I was telling you about the appraisal, because ये board report के साथ जाता है. Okay, so this is about your annual return. 9 things that you have to give about your business, about your shareholding pattern, changes in shareholding pattern, director KMP, changes in director KMP, remuneration that I give to my directors and KMP, certification, compliance, disclosure, penalty, punishment if any, FII के बारे में, and such other matters as may be prescribed. If I am a company other than OPC, MGT 7, OPC, MGT 7A, when to be filed? 60 days from the date of AGM, or 60 days from date AGM should have been held. I will have to file this. And who has to sign it? Director plus CS. CS in practice रहेगी तो वो भी sign करेगी. CS in practice when it is mandatory to have, अगर paid up capital more than 10 crores, turnover more than 50 crores, and this will be attached to my annual the board's report. Is this very, very clear? Now, coming to the prerequisites of meeting. What are the prerequisites of meeting? First, I will have to send a notice, and notice, as we have just discussed, is something which is a 21-day clear notice. What do I mean by clear notice? I will say that the date of sending the notice and the date of receiving the notice excluded. बीच के जो days है, those have to be 21 days. Now, date of sending the notice plus 48 hours. Then the day comes. That day excluded, last day excluded, in between 21 days. This is what I will have to calculate. Now, this 21 days, like we discussed for Section 8 companies, it is 14 days. And the memorandum articles cannot reduce the number of days, even if they want to, because the act will prevail. To whom do I have to send? In class we have done DMAL. So, directors, members, legal representatives, auditors, and assignee of insolvent members. So these are the people to whom I am going to send the notice of the meeting. When I am sending the notice of the meeting, I will also have agenda saying that what are the things that we are going to discuss, for which things I need special resolution, for which things I need ordinary resolution. All of those details will also be mentioned there. And along with that, I will mention that it is going to be held during business days and business working hours. वो सब अपन mention करेंगे. Standard things you can write down. Then deemed to be served on expiration of 48 hours, that is also fine. I can also send it by text. I can also send it by email. When I'm sending it by email, I can send a link of URL, or I can attach the notice there and then and there itself. That is also okay. I will also place it on the website of the company. The onus to prove that if it is not sent or not received by the member, then you have to prove as a company that that omission is not deliberate. जानबूझ के नहीं भेजा ऐसा नहीं है, भूल से नहीं गया ऐसा है. So that has to be proved by the company. Who can call the general meeting? A very small point, but if I had to set the paper, I would definitely use this particular point to make it tough. It is said that only the board of directors, by passing the board resolution, can call for the meeting. Individual directors cannot call for the meeting, and any general meeting which is called without the approval of board of directors is invalid. Okay, this is something I would genuinely want to ask, because it was not there earlier. Institute has now added it. It's a very small point, easily can be missed. So I would want to ask a question, like a full-fledged case study question on this particular point. Okay, now if I want to have a meeting at a shorter notice, 21 days में भेजने का नहीं possible, but I want to meet my shareholders, then if I want to have it at a shorter notice, then in that case, shareholders holding 95% of the capital or voting power will have to approve it. Now, with the notice, sometimes I need to send a explanatory statement. Explanatory statement I will only send when there is special business that I'm doing and not ordinary business. This is something which we discussed yesterday also. What is special business? If I'm discussing my financial statement, dividend, directors या auditors का appointment, removal, remunerations. If I'm discussing this, this is normal business. Visa pita, every year you do this, nothing new. But if I'm doing something different, then I will need an explanatory statement. If I'm issuing prospectus, I need an explanatory statement. If I'm doing DVR, explanatory statement. Buyback, explanatory statement. So for these things where I'm doing special business, I will need explanatory statement. This explanatory statement will be attached along with your notice and then sent to them, so that when they come for the meeting, they're well prepared about things that they should know and questions that they can ask. In the explanatory statement, two things very important that I will mention is that if my director or manager or any other KMP is involved, yeah, any of my relatives are involved, and if they have any interest, financial or otherwise, there is a case study question which has been asked on this particular point. So if there is a any concern in financial or otherwise, I will mention. There's one case study on this asked, and one case study on this concept has been asked from general clauses. Not general clauses, sorry, interpretation, where they said that he didn't have interest, but sister was involved. It's there in the book. If you want to see, you can have a look at that. The sister was interested. He himself was not interested. So he did a literal interpretation, whether it was true or not. So you have to say, you have to do a reasonable interpretation. So yeah, questions can be asked here. Other than that, if I'm a company, I'm dealing with a company and I'm holding more than 2% stake, then that is also something that should be mentioned, which I have not mentioned here. But there is a point here that if you're dealing with a company, then 2% से ज़्यादा अगर stake hold कर रहे, तो then that is something that you will mention in your explanatory statement. It's missed here, please add it. So yeah, this is about your notice. So briefly giving you an idea just of notices. 21 clear days notice भेजना पड़ेगा. In that clear days, the date when I'm sending the notice and the date on which notice is received is to be excluded. 21 days मेरा calculation start होगा from the day I send. If I'm sending by post, 48 hours expire होगा, then the day will come that I will exclude. Date on received I will exclude, and then 21 days होगा. In the notice it will be held at a place, what place, business day, business hours, whatever will be mentioned there. And I will also mention the agenda, what business I am going to do in the meeting, that is also mentioned. If I need special resolution, I will mention that special resolution is required. Otherwise, I don't have to mention anything. If I am transacting any special business which is different from my financial statement, dividend, directors, auditors, appointment, remuneration, removal, then in that case I will also have to attach an explanatory statement because it's special business. In this explanatory statement, I will mention if my directors, KMP or any of their relatives are interested financially or otherwise. And if I'm dealing with a company, then if any of these people have more than 2% stake, that is also something that I will mention in my explanatory statement. Now this notice I will be sending it to who? DMAL, directors, members, auditors, assignee of legal representative and assignee of insolvent member and legal representative. Correct? Who can call for the meeting? Board of directors will call for meeting by passing the board resolution. 21 days होना चाहिए. Section 8 है तो 14 days होना चाहिए. But if I want to reduce my time frame, then in that case I will have to take 95% of the shareholders or voting power वालों का approval, and then I can send the notice. Correct? Clear है ये? Now coming to quorum. So अगर notice भेज दिया, now people are coming for the meeting. When they are coming for the meeting, then in that case I have to see whether I am a private company, public company. Very important. Most of the times a mistake done here is that you don't see whether it's a private company or public company. So if it's a private company, 2 members have to be personally present. If it's a public company, then depending on how many members you have, more than 1000 रहेगा तो 15,000 से 5000 रहेगा तो सॉरी more than 1000 रहेगा तो 5,000 से 5,000 रहेगा तो 15, more than 5,000 रहेगा तो 30. So these members have to be personally present. Yesterday also I discussed about this. Personally present means that they have to be present and they have to be entitled to vote. Yesterday when we were talking about voting rights, I said if it's preference shares, then preference shares will be counted for quorum. But if it is discussion about equity shareholders, then preference shares can't vote. So preference shares will not be counted as the quorum. Now, if I am a company and if I am hiring one person to be my be my authorized representative, and the other two companies are also hiring him to be the authorized representative. So will he represent one person or three personally present? He will represent three, provided that he is not the only person who is attending the meeting. Again, if I am authorized representative of company A, okay, so the point here is that he has to be a personally present, correct? So if I am authorized representative of कंपनी ए, कंपनी बी, कंपनी सी, सबकी रिप्रेजेंटेटिव मैं ही हूँ. Now I go for the meeting. So personally I am going one person only. So whether it will be considered to be one person or will it be considered to be three people is the question. Here, if with me there is one more person, Mr. D, then in that case, both of us milake we will be four people. But if I am alone, Mr. D said, oh, I am sick, I can't come. Then in that case, I am one person only. Are we understanding this concept? So that is a different thing here. एक जो याद रखना चाहिए. So two individuals at least होने चाहिए. Members who have voted, again MCQ में मस्त question है. Whatever I have highlighted in bold, very very important. Okay. So I have said that members who have voted by remote e-voting. I said personally present होने के लिए you have to be entitled to vote. But someone has already done remote e-voting. Remote e-voting means what? Meeting में आने के पहले they have already voted. So now they have already voted. Then whether they will be counted as quorum or they will not be counted as quorum, ऐसा करके पूछ सकते हैं. तो here I will say he is entitled to vote. भले vote कर दिया, he is entitled to vote. So he will be counted as a quorum. He cannot vote again, but he will be counted as quorum because he has already voted. Now, members not entitled to vote since related party. They can't vote because they're related party. When you're related party, you can't vote because then you have conflict of interest. In this case also you are counted as a quorum. And quorum requirements not required is through postal ballot. Postal ballot mein people vote on very very important matters, those 10 things that we have. So when they are voting on those very important matters, they can vote by way of post also. Hence in postal ballot this is not counted. Okay, so very important points. If you are not planning to take a printout of this, please ensure that you write it down somewhere, all these points, so that if a question is asked, all of these are things which will be asked to make the paper tricky. So if a question is asked, you should be aware. Now, India, we have Indian Standard Time, so there is a possibility that people may come late. So the act says that if the meeting is starting at 11 a.m., you have to wait till 11:30. In that 11:30, before 11:30, these members have to be present. If not, then you will have to postpone, adjourn the meeting or in the next week, same day, time, place, whatever, if it is available, and then have the meeting next week. Now, if I am starting the meeting at 11:30, at 11:30, if I have the quorum and I start the meeting, and after passing 3 resolution, 4th resolution, the quorum is not there because someone had to leave, then in that case, for the resolutions which have passed without sufficient quorum, those resolutions are not valid at all. One more point I told you in class, which I forgot to write down here. If you have not written it in your book, please write it down. Suppose my meeting starts at 4 o'clock, which is during business hours, but the meeting ends at 12 o'clock. So the resolutions which have passed after the meeting has ended, after the meeting has ended, no, after the business hours have ended, correct? So 7 o'clock assuming business hours end. So from 7 to 12, I have passed 3 resolutions. Then will those resolutions be considered to be valid or not valid? It will be considered to be valid because it is said meeting has to start during business hours and next day bhi ho sakta hai, doesn't matter, but it has to start during business hours and entire meeting ke period mein you need to have the quorum present. These are the 2 requirements. So even if it ends at 12, even if it ends at 2 in the night, doesn't matter. Sometimes for very important discussions, people sit till very late in office and have the meeting, correct? So doesn't matter, but the meeting has to start at 4. If it starts at 9 p.m. and goes from 9 p.m. to 12 p.m., then it is not happening during business hours. But starting at 4 is during business hours, so that is perfectly okay. Also, now if I'm adjourning my meeting, then in that case, if I've adjourned my meeting, then on the date of the adjourned meeting, again quorum is not there. Then what to do? Then Act says you don't have to ghadi adjourn the meeting. You have to hold the meeting with whoever is present, and that people who are present will be constituted as quorum. Only in one scenario the meeting will get cancelled, and that is when you have a EGM. EGM is called by requisitionists. So requisitionists are calling the EGM, and it is assumed that they want to discuss something, so they are calling everyone. So the quorum has to be present, but if you have to adjourn it, then you can't adjourn it. It will get cancelled. So it has to happen on that date only. Okay, so this is about quorum. I hope it's all going. Must खा पी के सो नहीं रहे हो तुम लोग. Yes. Now, so that is your quorum. Now quorum हो गया, सब लोग आ गए. Now I want to start the meeting. If I want to start my meeting, then I need to have a chairman. Chairman will be decided by show of hands. So people will say that Mr. X will become the chairman. Everyone agrees. Whoever raises hand, and everyone, if it's majority, then that person will be the chairman. Chairman is very, very important because he has to do a lot of compliances. But apart from that, he will ensure that the decorum of the meeting has been maintained. If people are fighting, then he will say, बैठ जाइए, झगड़िए मत. So all of that he will do. So he is the person who is important, and he is the person who will be elected at the meeting only. And also he will have a casting vote. So if there is a tie, then one person has to vote, the chairman will vote. This he can do only if it is provided in the articles of association. If it's not provided, then in that case he can not vote. And sometimes people say that, okay, by show of hands we don't want to have, so we want to have a poll. So if they demand a poll, then in that case, first by show of hands chairman will be selected. That chairman will conduct the poll. Then from poll another chairman will be selected, and then the meeting will happen with the new chairman who is selected. इसके लिए 12 बजे meeting खत्म होता है. ऐसा सब टाइम पास करते हैं. Okay. Private companies को exemption मिलेगा provided not defaulted in filing financial statement annual return. Now, if I can come for the meeting, well and good, then I am personally present. But if I am not going for the meeting, but I want to know all the gossip that has happened at the meeting, I want to know everything, then in that case, even if it is not gossip, I just want to know things that are happening in the meeting, then in that case, I will appoint a proxy. This proxy will be a person who will go on my behalf. He will enjoy snacks and tea on my behalf, but he will not be entitled to vote at the meeting. He will not be entitled to open his mouth except for eating food. So he will just go there, sit, listen, and not vote and come back. When can he vote at the meeting? He will be able to vote at the meeting only if it is voting by poll. Otherwise, he will not be entitled to vote at the meeting. If I want to appoint a proxy, the company has to in the notice give me a proxy form, and this proxy form is something that I will have to submit to the, just a second please. So I will have to submit it within sorry, I missed what I was saying. Yeah, I will have to submit the proxy form with the company, and this proxy form which I am submitting and the proxies who are attending the meeting are the people who so the other members can inspect the proxy form. If they want to inspect, then they have to give a 3 days notice, and then they can inspect 24 hours before the meeting, and during the meeting proxy form has to be submitted 48 hours before the meeting. I can be a proxy for 50 members at a time, holding less than 10% of the total share capital. If I'm a proxy for a person who has 11% stake in the company, then I can be for one person only. If I'm holding for two people, adding up to 6 and 4, 10%, then I can be for two people. But they're holding 0.1, 0.2, 1%, 2%, then if it adds up to less than 10%, then I can be a proxy for 50 members. I have to appoint in form MGT 11. Proxy can be any person. So even if he is not a member, he can be a proxy, except in case of Section 8 companies. In Section 8 companies, only members can be proxy and no outsider can become a proxy. Correct? Are we clear on this? So proxy is all about the time limits, when to give the form, when to inspect. सबसे important उसमें वही है. And that they can vote by poll, which takes us to voting. Voting, there are 4 different ways in which you can vote. You have voting by show of hands, voting by show of hands, voting by electronic means, voting by poll, and voting by postal ballot. So by show of hands, and voting is a right which is being given to you by the act. No one can take that right away from you. Okay, so the company cannot by any way say that no, you are one jagadalu person, you come and fight at the meeting, I will not allow you in the meeting, I will not allow you to vote. No, you can't take that right away. It's a right that is being given to the member, and that right can never be taken away. Now, between these 4, I've tried to summarize it here so that you can use this for your understanding. The common thing between these two is the scrutinizer. So scrutinizer का concept थोड़ा अलग है. Scrutinizer is never ever asked in the examination, but you should know that scrutinizer है. In general, we will study as to what scrutinizer does. You can write it in your own words if at all it is asked. Okay. By show of hands, you know how it happens. People majority होता है, special resolution, all of that will happen by show of hands, and the chairman will note who is voting favor, who is voting against, and we can decide whether resolution passed, not passed. Insolvent member is still a member and can vote. Again, important MCQ question can be asked on this. Now, voting by electronic means voting by poll. So when you have more than 1,000 members in your company, then New Companies Act 2013 said that if you're a listed company or you have more than 1,000 members in your company, then in that case you can vote by electronic means, because show of hands karenge so it will take a lot of time. So here voting by electronic means में there are 2 things you can do. One is you can do a remote voting, घर पे बैठ के voting करने का before the meeting starts, or you can vote in the meeting itself. So you will vote in the meeting, approve, reject, whatever, pass, not pass resolution, and that is another thing. So if I am doing electronic means, in my notice I will say voting will happen by electronic means. If you want to do remote voting, this is your login ID, this is your password, you have to vote before so and so date, 5 PM before the meeting, 5 बजे तक खुला रहता है. So before that you will have to vote. Okay, so you will have to vote before that, and once you voted there, that vote cannot change when you come for the meeting. You cannot vote again, but you can come for the meeting, you can attend the meeting, and you will be counted as a quorum, which we just studied, correct? So you can come for the meeting. Now for that, because it's complicated, I need to have a scrutinizer. This scrutinizer will come for the meeting. First, he will have electronic means in the meeting itself, and everyone will vote. He will first count meeting में vote कितना आया है, then he will see remote voting में कितना है. For this he gets 3 days, okay, not immediately. Then he will see how many favor, how many against, whether resolution passed, resolution not passed, and then he will give his report to the chairman. The chairman will give it to the company, then it will be placed on the website of the company. Now when the scrutinizer is doing it, there are 2 witnesses who are not employees of the company who will be present to see that scrutinizer is not doing any gafla. All the details which are there, he will submit to the company after he has finished counting everything. Okay, so this is about voting by electronic means. Now, voting by poll. Poll is where कौन बनेगा करोड़पति में पोल करते वैसा वाला पोल, और you can have manual poll. So डब्बा रहेगा उसमें चिट डालने का, vote in favor, vote in against, and then you have to sign. Because you have to sign, your sign has to be there with the scrutinizer for him to check that sign बराबर किया है, उसी ने उसका vote दिया है, correct? Unless you are like me who can copy signs, correct? So he will check all of that. Now what he will do is that, again, because it's a complicated process, scrutinizer लगेगा. So scrutinizer will get an empty box in front of 2 witnesses. He will pack the box, and people will come and he will give everyone chits. Before the meeting, he will get a register where name of the shareholder, how many shares they are holding, and their signature, specimen signature will be given to the scrutinizer. Now scrutinizer will tell everyone, okay, you can now vote at the meeting. When they are voting at the meeting, at that point of time, when they are voting at the meeting, they will have to put vote in favor, vote against, and then they will sign it. Just 1 second, please. First is you can't come in my lecture. My lecture is going on. एक बार हाँ पाई ली. तारी बैग में मैं तारी छोकरी वाली कैप मूकी छोड़ी. Now, sorry. Yes. So, what will happen is that people will come, people will put their chitti inside with the signature. Then he will take it. He will go in front of two witnesses. He will open the box. Then he will take out the chitti. He will count. He will see signature matching. Whatever votes are redundant, no one has voted, signature not matching, no signature, those he will remove. Whatever are the valid votes he will take. Then he will count voted in favor, voted against, resolution passed, not passed. This data he will give to the chairman. The chairman will place it on the company's website, on the scrutinizer's website also. If it is listed company on SEBI also, it applies to electronic means also, both. And then the resolution has been passed. Now, resolution gets passed after 3 days, but it is effective. So, my meeting happened on 17th April. Correct? And स्क्रूटनाइजर का रिपोर्ट आके मैंने वेबसाइट पे डाला ऑन 21st April से फॉर एग्जांपल, बट इट इज सॉरी द resolution is effective from 17th April because that is the date was passed, only that it is taking some time to count. So this is my voting by poll. Then coming to postal ballot, the last part which I said is applicable to public companies, where I told you about AO and the object clause of the memorandum of association. So very, very important matters when it has to be voted. Electronic means internet, Geo, ये सब अभी आया है. Earlier it was not there. So people had to vote. So everyone gets a chance to vote. That is why postal ballot came into place, wherein you can vote by postal ballot, which means that you can also send a chitti by post saying I vote in favor, I vote against, and that voting will be counted. So that is why postal ballot is there. Exemption is being given to private companies. This is for very, very important matters. Changing my MOA, changing my AOA, changing my registered office, buyback of shares doesn't happen every day, right? Variation, DVR, variation in right of debenture holders other securities. You cannot alter, but if you want to alter, you take approval. Sale of whole of undertaking, giving loans or extended guarantee above the specified limits. So there are limits given for this, and if it is above the specified limits, then in that case you will have to take voting by way of postal ballot. Okay, so are we understanding this? Again, very less likely to be asked as a theory question, but in case it is asked, then you should know. Okay, if I am a president or governor, or if I am a corporate, then in that case I will have representatives appointed, because I cannot go and vote and be at all meetings because I have other important things to do. In that case, if I am appointing a representative, he will act like a member. He will not be my proxy. He will act like a member. He can appoint proxy if he wants to do. Okay. Then resolutions we have already discussed. Ordinary resolution, special resolution. If votes casted in favor are more than the votes casted against, then it will be ordinary. If it is 3 times the votes in favor are 3 times the votes cast against, then it will be considered to be a special resolution. There is an example in the textbook which I have not put here, which you can see. So for special resolution, I have to mention in my notice that special resolution is going to be passed, and that members should know in advance that a special resolution is required. Wherever the act says that special resolution is required, only for those things special resolution will be required. Where nothing has been mentioned, just the word resolution is mentioned, only ordinary resolution is required. Okay, now we will just take a 1-minute break and then we will start with the next part. Okay. Yes. Now coming to resolutions which require special notice. Special notice is required only for 4 things, and this special notice you will have to send not earlier than 3 months, but at least 14 days before the meeting. And special notice we also study when we are doing accounts of companies, so we do it there, because director part is something that is not applicable for us this year. Appointing auditor other than the retiring auditor, or resolution that retiring auditor shall not be reappointed. These two parts we have this year. Then you have removing auditor before the expiry of his office, and to remover of auditor, no, it is director before expiry of office, or appoint another of director in place of the removed officer. So for this we need special notice. Please remember, special notice is different from your special business. Okay, don't get confused between notice and business. Special notice is only for directors and auditors. Special business is for business which is not ordinary business, which we just studied, correct? I think there's some reason why this is blurred. Is it clear to you guys? No. Now, coming to resolutions passed at adjourned meeting. So if the meeting was supposed to be held on 17th and instead of it is held on 21st, so resolution will be effective from 21st because it is passed in the 21st April meeting. Resolution agreements has to be filed within 30 days in form MGT 14 with ROC. Now coming to minutes. Minutes again is basically the details about what has happened at the meeting, that is to be mentioned by the chairman. So he is the person who is responsible for maintaining the minutes. He can have a secretary who sitting next to him and writing, or he can record the meeting after taking approval of the members, and the minutes he will write after the meeting has ended. While writing the meetings, there are 3 things that he can exclude. Very, very important. Question can be asked about this. Here he can exclude defamatory things, irrelevant or immaterial things, and detrimental to the interest of the company. So if it is detrimental to the interest of the company, it can be excluded. So these are the 3 things that can be excluded. In class we had studied DID. So DID is the thing that you will remember. Now these minutes have to be given 30 days from the conclusion of the meeting. It has to be maintained in a minute book, which has to be consecutively numbered and ensure that all the pages are correctly there. The details which are there should not be exaggerated, or important details should not be concealed. It should give a fair and correct summary of what is happening at the meeting. For every kind of meeting that you have, a different register will be maintained. Inspection of minutes book is possible. You can keep it at the register office, and members can tell you that they want to inspect. 7 working days notice they can give, and you can allow them to inspect by giving them by they paying you not more than 10 rupees. Sometimes the documents are required to be maintained in electronic form, especially if you are a company or having members more than 1,000. In that case, you will ensure that the servers backup is taken. Servers are in India, and all the data backup has been taken on a regular basis, and it is available in a readable format. So whenever it's in electronic form and wants to be read in a readable format, then in that case you will have to give it a readable format. You will have to have people who are responsible for maintaining that data and ensuring that the data is properly maintained. So all of that is something that is required for electronic form. Again, not very important. Now coming to the last part, registers. Again, not asked in the exam very frequently, and it is about registers. So register is basically register of my shareholders, debenture holders, preference shareholders. For each kind of person, I will have a different register which I will be maintaining. This register I will maintain for permanently. I will have to maintain this register, and I will mention all the details about my shareholders, debenture holders. Every time there's a transfer transmission, I will go and update it. The depository is also maintaining the register under the Depository Act, because now everything is in demat form. So his register, my register, we'll have to reconcile. If I have more than 50 members, then in that case I will need to have to maintain an index, and every time I update the register, I will also have to update the index. There is hypothecation, pledge, all of that, even that will be updated in my register. Again, this register is my India register, considered to be a principal register because my company is based in India. But sometimes I have a foreign register also. So if I have members outside of India, then I can have a foreign register. If I have a foreign register, then that country where I'm having more than a particular number of members, then I can have my foreign register. That foreign register will be in the same format as my Indian register, but the shares which are written there, the numbering is different from my Indian register. It is in a way that I will understand that this is for my foreign register. Every entry that is there in the foreign register, there'll be a corresponding entry in the Indian register. So there it will be authenticated and then put in the foreign register. I will update it in my Indian register. If I'm closing the foreign register, I will ensure all the entries are transferred to my Indian register. So that is about my foreign register. Everything is open for inspection, and if that country laws require to maintain it in certain details, I will add those details here. Then coming to your beneficial interest in shares. So sometimes you are not actually holding the shares for your benefit, you're holding it for the benefit of someone else, correct? So if I'm holding it for the benefit of a minor, or I'm holding it for the benefit of a trust, then in that case I don't have beneficial interest in shares. Whatever money you're giving me doesn't come to me, correct? So if it is not coming to me, then in that case I will have to tell the company that I am not the beneficial owner of the shares, someone else is the beneficial owner of the shares. Mutual funds or any SEBI registered funds which are investing in companies, they never hold on behalf of the fund. They are always holding on behalf of the investors, and they are already governed by SEBI, so this rule is not applicable to them. But otherwise, if I am holding on behalf of a minor, I will have to give details to the company that I'm holding it for the beneficial interest of the minor. If there's any change, that change is also something that I will highlight. And once company comes to know, they have to inform ROC within 30 days in form MGT4. Coming to the last part of the chapter, which is significant beneficial owner. Again, never asked in the examination. Significant beneficial owner are people who hold more than 25% of the actual rights in the company, or sometimes they hold more than 10% as per rules. 10% shares, voting powers, or distributable profits if they are holding, then in that case they will become a SBO. And if they are a SBO, the company will send them a notice saying that if you are a SBO, declare that you are a SBO, and they will have to give a declaration. And that declaration that they get, they will go and inform the ROC. Sometimes it may happen that the company may ask for a declaration, but the SBO will not give the declaration. In that case, what will happen is that company will go to the tribunal and say, I'm asking for information, but he's not giving the information to me. So tribunal will tell the SBO to give the information. If he still doesn't give, then in that case the shares will not be entitled to any transfer, transmission, or any profits or any dividend on that particular shares. They will not be entitled to. The last part is you can close the register if you want to during the year. Very important again. If I am closing the register, then in that case I will have to give 7 days notice for closing the register. At a time I can close for a period of 30 days, but during the entire year, all days added together, I cannot close for a period of more than 45 days. Register, I can keep it at the registered office, or I can keep it any place where 1/10 of the total number of members reside, provided it is approved by a special resolution, correct? So this is your management and administration. It's a very compliance based topic, very important. Lot of questions, around 20 marks of your paper will be from this particular chapter. Nowadays they are reducing it and doing more from share capital, but yes, they have been always asking a lot of questions from this particular chapter. So very important, shouldn't be missed. It's easy, but just a lot of things to be remembered. Now coming to the last 3 chapters. Accounts of companies. I have made charts in a way that should help you remember everything that's there. Lot of information in one chart itself. So if you are not taking the print of the entire book, at least ensure that you take for this particular chapter and for your companies outside India, both. Okay. Um, Books of accounts will include my books and papers, financial statements, books of accounts, and this has to be kept. The board of directors will authenticate the entries which are made here, and the directors can also inspect. These books of accounts are to be preserved for a period of 8 years, after which I can discard the books of accounts. If I have to maintain it in electronic mode, then I will ensure that the audit trail is maintained, the audit trail backup has been taken, and no one tampers with the audit trail. And branch will send me summaries, and this summary I will have to ensure that I maintain as it is without any changes. So branch will send out summaries and I will have to maintain the summary. Then coming to your financial statement, books of accounts are different from your financial statement. When I talk about financial statement, I am talking about my balance sheet, P&L, cash flow statement, statement of changes in equity, and the explanatory notes which are there. So these financial statements are very, very important, and I lay it before the members at the AGM who approve it at the AGM. These financial statements, I have to ensure that they're true and correct. I have maintained as per double entry system of accounting. They comply with accounting standards, and cash accrual basis, whatever I'm maintaining, that it's maintained as per that. At each AGM, if I have holding subsidiary associate company, I will have to consolidate my financial statement. If I am consolidating my financial statement, then CFS is something that I will place before the company. If my holding subsidiary associate, they are based outside of India, which is why CFS is difficult, because the time frame is different, then in that case I'll apply to CG. I'll apply to CG, and CG will give me a time frame for which I will have to maintain my CFS. I have to ensure that it is in English and that it is as close to my accounting standards as possible. Now, CFS exemption, who gets? This is very important. If my members agree in writing that they do not object to having a CFS, or any intermediate holding company has already prepared the CFS, or I am not a listed company, or I am not in the process of listing, then CFS is something which is not mandatory to me. Otherwise, I will have to maintain my CFS. Who are the people who are responsible in case of contravention? Then all my key managerial personnel are responsible. If I don't have any of them, then all the directors are responsible. If I'm a listed company, in addition to this provision, I will also have to comply with my SEBI regulations. In listed company, so all my financial statements have to be available on the what do you call, the website of the company, and it should be available for inspection. In case of listed companies, I can also keep it at my registered office, and I have to send them to the members and the debenture holders, and they can come and inspect it also, or I can send it to them, and if they want to inspect, they can inspect it during the working hours, 21 days before the meeting. Okay, so financial statements and books of accounts. CFS part is something which is generally asked here. Otherwise, you can write it in your own words. It's not much. Now coming to periodical financial results. So this is for unlisted companies, where I want to do a limited review for unlisted companies. I want to check what they are doing, because there are a lot of unlisted companies in India, correct? So if I want to review their financials, then in that case, I will tell them that I want your financials for a specific time. Generally, it's a quarter, and I will review. Here, I'm not doing an audit. I'm just reviewing the financials which are there. So that is called as limited review, and it is mainly done for unlisted companies. Whatever is the review, I will have to file with ROC within a period of 30 days. Coming to reopening of accounts, here reopening of accounts can happen by two ways. One is someone is doing chugli and then I'm reopening the accounts. Second one is I myself feel that something is wrong and I'm reopening my accounts. When it comes to chugli, who can do chugli? Can be done by CG, SEBI, statutory regulatory authority, or income tax authority. They will go to the court or tribunal. They will say that the accounts are not properly maintained. There's some fraud that is happening, and the tribunal will give both parties opportunity of being heard, and then after giving opportunity of being heard, they will decide whether the reopening of accounts should be done or not done. If they say that you have to reopen the accounts, then the recasted accounts will be my final accounts. I'll have to change it. They can open it for a maximum of 8 financial years, because that is the time I maintain my books of accounts. But if CG says that you have to maintain accounts for a period which is beyond 8 years, then in that case they can reopen it for a period beyond 8 years if I have the books of accounts. So this is when they are making an application. So I get an opportunity of being heard. Now, when I myself want to do voluntary revision, I only feel that there's some issue with the financials and I want to revise it, recast it, then in that case they will they know I will make as a company application to the tribunal and I will say that I want to change. Tribunal will say, wait, I don't know anything about it, so let me ask income tax authority CG whether they are okay with you changing your accounts, and after taking their approval he will say, okay, now you can change your accounts. When you are making this application, you will also have to give details about any people who have been directors or auditors who have resigned before you decide to make this particular application. You have to give the details about such directors and auditors, because they will want to know why they have resigned just before making the revision. You can revise one financial statement or your board report not more than once in your financial year. बोर्ड रेजोल्यूशन नहीं है, रिपोर्ट है. ओके, सो दिस इज वॉल्यूंटरी रिविजन. फर्स्ट जो किया है उसमें चुगली किया है एंड दे हैव अप्लाइड. ट्रिब्यूनल विल आस्क मी रिप्रेजेंटेशन आई विल मेक. Their tribunal will not ask me because I am only going to the tribunal. So tribunal will go and ask who? The central government and income tax authority, and then will pass an order. NFRA I will come to. Then coming to financial statements, who can sign? Again, very very important. Chairperson or 2 directors, one of which is MD, and CEO, CFO, CS को तो sign करना ही है. Question is between chairperson and the directors. The problem. So here we had done this example in class that if I have a chairperson, CEO, CFO, CS, then all of them will sign. If I have 2 directors, chairperson, one more director, then the chairperson can sign or 2 directors can sign. If I have CEO, CFO, chairperson and director, then the chairperson, CEO, CFO can sign because I need 2 directors, correct? So very very important. So CEO, CFO and CS, they are always going to sign. Problem is between chairperson and directors, and in that director whether I have MD, I don't have an MD, that I will check. Then coming to board's report, what are the things that you will mention in your board's report? So we have a chart in the book, but I have just changed it here. It's the same thing, not much has changed. I've just added a few details to make it exhaustive. So these are the things which you have in your board's report which you have to add. What is important here is that one is not applicable to OPC, to be signed by chairperson or 2 directors, important, and you have your director responsibility statement, very very important. पूरा board report वो लोग नहीं पूछते, director responsibility statement they do ask. So here we are done ASAP. Then discuss about fraud, whether going concern books are maintained or not maintained, internal financial controls there or not there, and sufficient controls to ensure that all the compliances as per law are done or not done. So this will be asked as a theory question. Okay, this you can't avoid, this you have to remember. बाकी ऊपर का go through it. If you remember, fine. If you don't remember, that's also okay. Okay, so director's responsibility statement, ASAP, fraud, going concern basis, internal financial controls, and all compliances for law, different laws which are there, whether we have a system to ensure that all the compliances are happening or not happening. So this is what will form part of your director's responsibility statement, not applicable to OPC and small company. And who will sign it? Sign it is also again fine. It is similar to your this part which we just did about signing. Now, copies of audited financial statement. I will send it to whom? I will send it to my every member. I will send it to my trustees and any other person to whom it is required to be sent. when I am sending my audited financial statement, I will send it at least 21 days before the meeting. I can also place it on the website of the company. I can also send it by electronic modes. I can also send it out physically if I want to. Okay. Now, if I am holding shares in demat form, electronic से ही जाएगा. Not holding shares in demat form, then I have to send it out physically only. If I place it, if I am a listed company and I place it on the website of the company or keep it at the office available for inspection, that is also sufficient. Then I don't need to send it out. That is also okay. Copies of financial statements to be filed. Sorry, this is not copy of financial statements. Yes, to be filed with the registrar. So here, my financial statements, I will send it to my members. Then the members will hold the meeting. Members will hold the meeting. And once it has been approved by the members at the meeting, I will have at the AGM it is approved, I will send it out to the registrar. Here he is saying that if the AGM is held, then financial statements, if they say, okay, financial statements are perfect, it is adopted. Then in that case, I will send it to RFC without any issues. But at the AGM, they say that the financial statements are not correct. You have to change. Then first I will send the financial statements which are wrong. I will rectify it and then send the financial statements which are correct. So I will send provisional and then I will send the final. If I don't hold the meeting, then 30 days from the date, AGM should have been held, similar to how you have your annual return card thing, correct? And there are certain companies who have to give it in XBRL mode. Again, this entire part is very important, okay? This provisional also, XBRL also, AGM should have been held, this part also. XBRL mode किसको चाहिए? Paid up capital more than 5 crores, turnover more than 100 crores and need to comply with Indian accounting standards. Then in that case, they will have to file returns in XBRL mode only. And they say that once it has been made applicable, then it is applicable only. Then you can't change it. Like in CSR, it says that if it is applicable, then 3 years not applicable, then not applicable to you, correct? 1 year in, 3 years out. Similarly here, once it is applicable, whether you are 1 crore, 2 crores, 50 lakhs, 5 lakhs, doesn't matter. Once XBRL applicable, you have to file an XBRL form, and it is not applicable to NBFC, HFC and banking insurance sector because they have their own returns which they are filing. Okay, so very important. Please ensure that this is remembered. I'll come to CSR. I've kept it at the end. Then coming to your internal audit, which you've also done in your audit. I told you to remember the limits. Listed company, everyone has to do internal audit. Here you have to remember 25, 50, 100, 200, correct? So you take a deposit of 25. So paid up capital now has become 50. And then you will say that you borrow another 100. And with all this money, you make a turnover of 200 rupees. This is how you can remember this particular limit. And here you have 100 and 200 only for private companies. Correct? So this is how you can remember this particular part, which you have also done in your internal audit. Internal audit again. Now we come to the auditors chapter. Can be done by CA, CS. CA, cost accountants are the professional. Need not be an employee. They will give consultation to the audit committee and they will help in planning. Okay. Now, coming to CSR. CSR, very, very important. One question definitely coming in your examination. Now, in CSR, what do we understand? CSR, we say that is applicable only when net worth is exceeding 500 crores or my turnover exceeds 1000 crores or my net profit exceeds 5 crores. Out of these three conditions, any one condition is fulfilled, CSR is applicable. In any one preceding year, then if last year it is fulfilled, this year's CSR is applicable. But if I want to come out of CSR, then in that case, these three conditions should not be fulfilled for a period of 3 years. Then CSR is not applicable to me. CSR, once applicable to me, there are activities which are given in Schedule 7 which I need to comply with, and I can invest, I can spend on those activities, and then my CSR is done. Now, what activities are activities which I will do but which are not considered to be a CSR is very, very important. If I am doing it in the normal course of business, then it is not considered to be a CSR. If I am spending any amount outside India except for sports personal training. So he's saying India is already very poor, so you have to spend in India. So इसके लिए if you are spending outside of India, then it is not CSR. But if you are spending it for sports personal training at national international level, then it will be considered to be CSR. If I am giving it to any political party or anything for the benefit of my employees, if I am doing, then that is staff welfare, correct? It is not CSR. Then if I'm doing sponsorship, then it is marketing, then it is not CSR. Or anything which I have to do as a statutory obligation. PF, if I'm depositing on behalf of my employees, it is not that I want to give it to my employees. I'm doing it because it is mandatory to do so. And hence it is saying that it is a statutory obligation, which is why you're doing this particular thing. And hence it will not be considered to be CSR. So what, in where CSR you can spend, not relevant, Schedule 7. What is not CSR? Very, very important. Okay. Then, if I am spending in CSR, if that amount of CSR is how much, first how much I will spend? I will spend 2% of my average net profit as per my 198 calculation. So, average net profit of the preceding 3 years, 2% uska lene ka, and I will calculate my CSR. Now, the CSR amount is more than 50 lakhs. Then, in that case, I will need a CSR committee. If it is less than 50 lakhs, then board of directors can do whatever has to be done. If I am a CSR committee, then I need 3 directors, one of which will be independent director. If I don't have an independent director, 2 or more directors will do. If I don't have CSR, then board of directors can go ahead and do it. So for private companies too, for public foreign companies, it will be 1 nominated person plus 1 independent person, which we will do in companies outside India. Now, amount to be spent, we have 2% of average net profits of 3 years immediately preceding years. If you don't have 3 preceding years, then you can have average of preceding years jitna bhi hai. Now I am spending the CSR, so I am supposed to spend, if it is more than 50 lakhs, तो अपने को CSR committee चाहिए. But if it is more than 1 CR, then in that 10 CR, then in that case you will need this thing, assessment study. I hope it's mentioned here. Yeah. Impact assessment through independent agency. If it is 10 CR or more in the immediately preceding year, the amount of spent is 10 CR or more, then you need it. Okay. Now, when I'm calculating the amount to be spent on CSR, so say for example, I have to spend 10 lakhs, but I spent 12 lakhs because the activity where I was putting, they needed 12 lakhs. So I'm spending excess. If I am spending excess, then I can carry forward that excess for a period of 3 years and I can adjust it in the next 3 years, no problem at all. But if I am not spending it, then they will check whether it pertains to ongoing project, because sometimes I may take up big projects, like I can have a hospital. So it is not something that will get over in 1 year. So I need more time. So if it is pertaining to an ongoing project, then I can transfer it to unspent CSR account. Like how I had unpaid dividend account, like that I will have unspent CSR account, where within 30 days I will transfer, because now that amount doesn't belong to me. I have to spend that amount. Like how I have to spend dividend, I can't recall. So unspent CSR account I will transfer, and that I have to use within a period of 3 years. If I don't use, then I can transfer it to the fund as per Schedule 7. If it is not pertaining to ongoing project, but I don't know, so many NGOs, I don't know which NGO to put, so now I will not spend only, then in that case I have to transfer it to the fund specified within 6 months from the end of the financial year. So by 30th September I will have to transfer the funds there. Okay, very, very important, again can be asked as a case study question. If I have CSR, I have to apply for CSR1. I will get a CSR registration number. CSR activities I can either do by myself, or I can invest in another company which is formed under Section 8, or I can collaborate with any other company. So Tata is doing its own CSR. I can collaborate with Tata and then have the CSR spend. Okay. So CSR, 2% of my average net profits of the preceding 3 years. When is it applicable? I have to see net worth more than 500 crores, turnover more than 1000 crores, net profit more than 5 crores. If in 1 year it is made applicable, then in that case I will have to start CSR from the next year. To go out of CSR, I need at least 3 years of non-compliance with this in order to be out of CSR. Activities which are not CSR, if it is for my own business, if I'm giving to political party, I'm spending outside India, I'm doing it for the benefit of my employees, I'm doing something which is a statutory obligation, or I'm doing any sponsoring event, then in that case it is not CSR. Now, when I calculate 2% of the average profits, then in that case, if the amount is more than 50 lakhs, then in that case, I need a CSR committee, which is of 3 directors, 1 independent director. If I don't have, then 2 directors. If I don't have CSR committee, the board of directors can discharge the function. Now, if I have to spend a certain amount, I spend more, then it will get carried forward for a period of 3 years. I spend less, I will see whether it is ongoing project, not ongoing. If it is ongoing, no problem. You transfer it to unspent CSR account within 30 days from end of financial year, and then you spend it in the next 3 years. If you can't, then you transfer it to the fund. If it is not for ongoing project, I have still not spent the amount, then you transfer it to a fund under Schedule 7 within 6 months from the expiry of the financial year. Okay, so this is all about your accounts. It is as much summarized as possible. Please make the best use of it. Now coming to the next part about audit and auditors. So when I am appointing auditors, at that point of time, whether I am a government company or I am not a government company, that will decide within what time frame I have to appoint. Anything which is pertaining to government company, always the CAG will be involved. Where it is not pertaining to the government company, initially the board of directors will be involved. After that, the members will appoint at the meeting. The term of the auditor is, if it is a listed company or it is unlisted public company with paid up capital more than 10 crores, or private company paid up capital more than 50 crores, or borrowings more than 50 crores, then in that case they will have tenure for the auditors. If he is an individual, then he will have 5 years of working as an auditor, then 5 years of cooling off period, and if he's a firm, then 5 years plus 5 years, so 10 years of working as an auditor, 5 years cooling off period. When that cooling off period is happening, at that point of time, if I am a partner of some other firm also, so if I am a partner of ABC Associates, ABC is not going to be appointed, but I am also a partner of PQR Associates, PQR can also not be appointed. If you have a common partner, or I resign and join PQR, again PQR cannot be appointed. So that has to be taken. It has to be an independent firm itself. If there are joint firms and joint firms that are auditing your organization, then in that case you have to ensure that they do not retire at the same point of time. So they have to retire at different points of time. How is the auditor appointed? Then the audit committee or the board of directors will give their recommendation. So audit committee will give the recommendation to board of directors. Board of directors will check. If they like it, they will forward it to the shareholders. If they don't like it, they will send it back to the audit committee. The audit committee may send a new person, or they may say we stick to the person who's there. Then both audit committee and board will go to the members. Members will decide which auditor to keep, which auditor not to keep. Audit committee is not required for all companies. It is only required for companies which is a listed company. Same limit जो यहाँ पे है वो specified class. Paid up capital more than 10 CR, turnover more than 100 CR, borrowings more than 50 CR. यहाँ पे private company नहीं आता है, मतलब private public का ऐसा bifurcation नहीं है जो यहाँ पे 50 CR के लिए है. That bifurcation is not there, but the limits are similar. Then once the auditor is appointed, you will check his eligibility, whether he can be the auditor or not, because he can be an auditor of only 20 companies at a time. So that you will check. Or if he has been caught in any fraud and he has been debarred from being the auditor, then he cannot be an auditor. So I will check the audit criteria, and before after checking the audit criteria, if I can appoint, he will give his written consent that he wants to act as an auditor, and then I can appoint him as the auditor, not before that. If I remove the auditor, if I have to remove the auditor, then I will have to pass a board resolution first, and I will have to make an application to the CG or the regional director saying I want to remove him. Once I go to him and I say that I want to remove, then in that case they will allow the person to make a representation, so give an opportunity of being heard, and within 60 days, once they have given the approval to remove the auditor, within 60 days I will have to pass a special resolution and I can remove the auditor. So if I have to remove the auditor, I have to take necessary approvals first, then only I can remove. There are two things: one, I removing him; one is he resigning. That is different. When I am removing the auditor, we saw in special notice that if I am removing the auditor, I need to give a special notice, so that not more than 3 months before the meeting, at least 14 days before the meeting. So that special notice is something that is linked here, correct? So I will have to give that special notice. Now, if it is a resignation, if he doesn't want to work, he can just resign. Okay, he will give his reasons for resignation, and I will have to file with ROC why he wants to resign. If it's a government company, because CAG is appointing, he needs to give it to CAG also. Otherwise, company and ROC is sufficient. Okay, so resignation he can do, but if I'm removing him, then I have to take the approval of CG or RD, and once they give opportunity of being heard, then only I can remove. So that is different. Now, appointing auditor other than the retiring auditor, again special notice will be required, like we studied there. Then auditor is given it. Now auditor will give representation why you are not reappointing me. This we are talking about reappointing in the 5-year period where he is eligible, okay, not in the cooling off period. In this year, every year I will appoint him, correct? Reappoint him basically. So if he is auditor here I am not reappointing him. He has to be given a chance to make his representation. So he will give representation. If he has given it in writing before the meeting, then I will read it out at the meeting. If he has not given it before time, then I will send my notices and if he has given it before time, then I will send it along with the notice. If he has not given it along with the notice on time, then he will read it out at the meeting. But if I feel at any point of time that he is abusing his right to be the auditor, then in that case I will not allow him to read, or I will not send out his representation. This representation I will have to file with ROC. Okay? So this is, one is I removing him, special notice लगेगा, plus CG को application करना पड़ेगा, and then CG will give opportunity of being heard and remove. Second is he is resigning. If he is resigning, 30 days का notice देगा, company को ROC को, government company है तो CAG को देगा, and resign. Third is that I am not reappointing him. If not reappointing him, then I have to give him a chance to be heard. He will make representation, which will be sent with the notice or which will be read out at the meeting. But here also, I will need a special notice. Now, acting in fraudulent manner. Auditor is acting in fraudulent manner. Tribunal will come to know by himself with his information sources that he is acting in fraudulent manner, or application will be made by CG, or application can be made by any person concerned that he is acting in fraudulent manner. The tribunal will pass such order as may be necessary, and then 447 will be applicable, and he will not be eligible for appointment for a period of 5 years. Now, sometimes it is possible that the auditor may report a fraud. If he is reporting a fraud about the company, you will see whether the fraud is less than 1 CR or it is more than 1 CR. If it is less than 1 CR, then that auditor will inform the board of directors within 2 days of coming to his notice, and then the board will mention it in the board's report saying that this is the fraud that was reported by auditor. This is the action that we've taken, because it is less than 1 CR. But if it is more than 1 CR, the company will have to reply to the auditor within 45 days saying what is the fraud, why we are not doing a fraud, or whatever it is. And this reply that he gets, he will file it with the CG within a period of 15 days. If reply has not been received, he will mention that the reply has not been received and send the details on his letterhead in form ADT4. Now coming to the sundry provisions, government companies the audit will be done by CAG. CAG will direct the manner in which the audit has to be done, and they will give a report to the CAG, and CAG may ask for more information. He may ask for supplementary audit. He may ask for test audit. So all of that additional information government companies have to give it to CAG. For branch offices, whether your branch is in India or outside India, if your branch is in India, the same auditor can do audit for both the company and the branch itself. If it is outside India, then any person outside India who is authorized to audit will audit and then send a report to the main office. So main office report has to be sent whether in India or outside India. But if I am only doing the branch audit, then of course I will not send a report to myself, correct? Signing of audit report can be done only by chartered accountants, and they will give their comments, observations, and this qualifications which they give, that will be read out at the AGM also, and it will also be open for inspection. So yeah, so it will be read out at the AGM, and the person who is attending the meeting will also discuss and give his views as an auditor in the AGM. So that is possible. Last part is your cost audit. In case of cost and NFRAS, cost audit applicable only to companies where the turnover is exceeding, or they're engaged in production of goods or services and the turnover is exceeding 35 CR. Then you have to have a cost accountant who will do the cost audit. Qualification, disqualification of a cost auditor is similar to that of your chartered accountant. They will give a report, and the report will be submitted to the board of directors, giving all the information as required. And if it is to be submitted in XBRL mode, then they will give it in XBRL mode. XBRL is not for all companies, only listed companies या paid up capital 50 CR 100 CR जो भी है उनको ये applicable होगा. Then last part is NFRA. NFRA is not at all relevant, but we will just read NFRA. You can just refer to this chart for your exam and go, that's also fine. So NFRA is basically involved in forming the accounting standards and policies. So in consultation with the CA Institute, they will have accounting standards that they will frame, and the general public at large will follow that particular accounting standards. But at the same time, they will also keep an eye on CAs. So if any CA is doing any fraud, they can take an action against the CA. So they will audit the CA. In this case, which companies can they look at? They will only look at the bigger companies. Chota companies they will not see. So listed companies, unlisted company ka paid up capital more than 500 crores, turnover more than 1000 crores, or borrowings more than 500 CR. So these companies plus the specific companies that we have, or अगर branch है associate holding subsidiary associate, if the net worth is more than 20%, then they will get involved. So only for bigger companies they will get involved, and they have the right of powers of civil court. They can see misconduct by CA firms, and they can debar CAs for a minimum 6 months, maximum of 10 years. So they are auditors ka auditors, correct? So they can take action against the auditors, and they can frame accounting standards. उसके लिए chairperson plus 15 members का requirement है. So this, if you go and see, I think should be more than sufficient. NFRA is not really asked. इसमें है NFRA को अगर report करने का है तो कितने दिन में करेंगे, और NFRA का accounts will be audited by CAG. CAG will give report to CG, then CG will go and place before both houses of parliaments what other things that they can do. So you can just read this once. I've put it because so that you don't miss it, and only the important points are here as compared to your textbook, which is very much detailed, which you are not required to look into. Now the last part is your companies incorporated outside India. Companies incorporated outside India. The definition of a foreign company is something which is very, very important. What is a foreign company? Foreign company वो company होता है which is established outside India but which has some place of business in India, or they have some business in India. Even if they don't have a place of business in India, then it is considered to be a foreign company. If you are a foreign company, then you will have to register with ROC. Here, no matter which state of India you are incorporated in, you will be governed by the ROC of New Delhi. So all the documents you have to send it to ROC New Delhi. Any alterations, if you shut down place, if you open a new place, all those details you will have to send it out to ROC, which is based in New Delhi, irrespective of where you are placed. if you're a company outside India, not doing business in India, but you're formed by Indian citizens, then it is not a foreign company. For being a foreign company, whether you are controlled by Indian citizens, you are formed by Indian citizens, it is irrelevant. Only thing that is relevant, you should have a place of business in India, or you should have some business activity in India. Other than that, whether you are controlled by Indian citizens, whether all your shareholders are Indian citizens, whether all your business decisions are taken in India, that is not at all relevant. Only thing relevant is that you should have business in India, either physically or electronically. When I say electronically, I can have any information that I'm sending out here, or I'm giving only a payment gateway here, or I'm only doing the financial settlements here. So these are the definitions. Again, electronic means will not be asked, but you should broadly know what is here in case it is asked as a case study question. So I kept an example here. Okay, now most of the things, okay, which are applicable to Indian companies, the same provision with certain alterations are applicable to foreign companies. So I've listed down everything which is applicable to Indian companies, same provision being applicable with certain modifications to the foreign company. Okay, one place where modification doesn't happen is when I'm talking about prospectus. Prospectus jo hai, because you're raising from money from people in my country, I have to safeguard their interest because you are a foreign company. So prospectus provision will be applicable without any modification. There is no leeway that is allowed to foreign company, and everything that is applicable to Indian company, the foreign company is required to do. So there is no exception which is given here. What all things they have to include, तो अपना जो 26 है that तो they have to include MOA, the date of country of incorporation, place of business in India and place of business outside India. This information is not required if 2 years has lapsed. Expert statement is required, which we studied yesterday. This is to be certified by chairperson plus 2 directors, copy to ROC, consent of expert, material contracts in preceding 2 years, underwriter contract, copy of power of attorney. All of these details I will have to send it out. And no waiver. Just now I told you, no waiver of compliance to foreign companies. They will have to comply with all the provisions which are there for Indian companies. For other provisions they can accept it with modifications, correct? So subject to certain exceptions and modifications, but all other provisions, they for prospectus, all the provisions have to be complied with, and no exception or waiver is permitted. Now, when I'm being established in India, or I want to register as a foreign company, this has been asked as a theory question. What are the documents I will have to give? I will have to give my MOA AOA if I'm in India, or my MOA AOA which I have outside of India, converted in English. Outside India where I am running my business, in India where I am running my business. My director CS कौन कौन है, that details I will have to give. Place of business where I have in India. None of the directors have been convicted or debarred from formation of companies in India. Any other information prescribed. Other than that, the most important thing that we have is, we need to have, as a foreign company, you need to have a representative who is in India. And this representative is a person who is authorized to receive notices and all documents on your behalf. Correct? Sorry. So, name and address of the person resident in India, authorized to accept on behalf of the company any notices or other documents required to be served. So I will have to give the name of such person, and this person is very, very important. This same person is also a part of the CSR committee. One nominated person, one independent person. So it's the same person who is also forming part of your CSR committee. Are you understanding? Okay. Now, apart from that, what are the other things? Like in India, if I am based in India, I have to give details. Outside my office, I will put a board saying the company is here. On my letterhead, on my communications, I will mention everything about my company. Similarly, foreign company has to comply with the same provision, and they will also have to give their name. If their name is not in English, then they will have to convert it into English or in the local language which is there. So that same provision will be applicable. Now, accounts of foreign company, thoda alag hai. It is similar to your LLP. So I've written it is similar to the LLP form of organization. So here, what are the details? बैलेंस शीट, P&L, financial statements and place of business, ये मुझे देना है. What are the 3 new things which I am adding here is my related party transactions, repatriation, how much money I am sending out there, and transfer. I said there is a difference between repatriation and transfer. Repatriation, I will send my money to my company as it is. That is repatriation. When I'm doing transfer, I'm not sending it to my company, I'm sending it out to different people. Like if I'm giving out dividend, that is called as transfer of funds. So it's not going to my company, but it is going to different people. So related party, repatriation and transfer, all these 3 things I will mention in addition to my balance sheet, P&L, financial statements, place of business in India, and my annual return. Now, financial statements and annual return, I will have to file annual return 60 days from end of financial year, financial statement 6 months from end of financial year. These I have to file is similar to LLP, but यहाँ पे financial statements के बदले आता है statement of accounts and solvency. Annual return is annual return only. तो वो जो time limits है is for foreign company and LLP is the same. It will help you remember कि वो दोनों same है. If I have holding subsidiary associate company, then I need to prepare CFS. Same provision as India, that if you have CFS, then CFS you have to make. If it is for different time frame, then you have to go to CG. You have to tell him different time frame hai. He will give you a year, which may not necessarily be a year, and everything you do has to be in English language only. You will consolidate and you will file with ROC. Okay. So this provision again is the same. This is as per LLP. This is same plus 3. Same plus 3. Are we understanding? So this is how you can remember it. Then prospectus we have discussed. One second. Indian depository we will discuss. Other provisions we have discussed. Correct. So only Indian depository. So this chart book again is very, very important if you want to do companies outside India. It's in a very, very simplified form, as much as I could simplify it. So please take a print and file it with your staple it with your notes. Okay. Now, Indian depository receipt is same as GDR. You remember GDR, how we did? GDR के लिए अपन ने क्या किया था when we did prospectus? That GDR is when Indian companies want to list outside. Here, ulta will happen when outside companies want to invest in India. तो उल्टा हो रहा है. The same thing but ulta. So they want to invest here. They will tell depository will go to the shareholders. Correct, the investors basically. Then he will collect money, then he will deduct and give it to depository, then depository will give him the shares, and then he will give the shares to the shareholder. So here it is same as GDR, only ulta is happening. Here Indian company wants to list overseas. In IDR, overseas company wants to come and invest in India. So it is the same concept, no changes at all. Okay. So if at all it is asked, that same chart but reverse, just reverse it and do it. Okay. So it has to be as per SEBI regulations, and CG will make the rules regarding IDR prospectus, how IDRs are to be dealt. All of that the company will, the CG will tell you. Company's failure to comply with this provision will not affect contracts entered into, and any IFSC companies, like you have your Gift City. So any IFSC companies which are established under SEZ, they will get exemption here, and that exemption will be specified for SEZ companies. So yeah, in the exam you can draw the chart and you can explain it. It is perfectly okay. There is absolutely no issues if you are drawing the chart. So this is it, guys. We have finished everything today. Once you are back, like back in the sense, once you are done with this class, take a break and start reading whatever we have done today, and your 2 revisions are done. Okay. And if possible, take a print of the chart book. It will really, really help you revise on the very last day, on the day before, like the few hours before your exam. It will be really, really helpful. Any questions, anything that you would want to ask, or we can end the session. All the very, very best. I'm really hoping that you'll come and, tell me that you've all cleared, and I'll be really happy that all the effort is useful. I'll just check the query that you've sent. So for present, if one person is representing 3, he will be considered 1. But if proxy is also there, then he will be 4 persons will be counted. Yes, 4%. No, sorry, proxy is there, then not 4% will be counted, because proxy, if poll ho raha hai, to yes, otherwise no. Because otherwise proxy cannot vote. Okay. So yes, all the very best. Do well. Keep your calm. I'm very, very sure that you will be able to manage it very nicely. At some point, you may feel नहीं याद आ रहा है बहुत कुछ है, but end of the day you're going to remember it. I'm very, very sure about it. So yeah, all the best. If you have any queries, you have my number. Please WhatsApp me, and I'll be happy to help you out. And yes, any other questions, anything that you would want to ask? Yes, meeting should start at business hours, can end at any time, doesn't matter. Okay, so we will end the meeting here. Thank you so much and all the very best. Yes, do well. All my good luck, all my wishes with you. All the best. Bye bye.